As well as offering the tools to easily create basic shapes, Illustrator also offers a number of ways to combine those shapes. Simple shapes can become more complex by adding, subtracting, intersecting, and overlapping them. Here I'm using the Pathfinder tools to do that. Add, subtract, intersect, and exclude, which uses the topmost object to punch a hole through the object beneath. Another tool that lets you add and subtract overlapping shapes is the Shape Builder. So here I have a series of overlapping circles. I'll select them, come and choose the Shape Builder tool, and first of all, to delete those parts that I don't want, hold down the Option or Alt key and just drag over those pieces to subtract them. Then, using a fill, I can come and drag over the segments that I want to combine. Many interesting effects can be achieved with the Live Paint tool, which lets you apply different color to each shape segment. Here I'm going to start out with a polygon, and then with my line tool, I will draw lines connecting one side with the other. Then I can swipe over that and come and choose my Live Paint bucket. Click on my selected item to make it into a Live Paint group, and then go and choose some colors to apply to the different segments. In the second example, I'm going to use the Polar Grid tool. Click and hold down, drag from the center point. I'm holding down my Alt key and my Shift key. Now I need to let go of those for just a moment. And if I press my down arrow, that will reduce the number of concentric rings, which in this case is what I want. And if I press my right arrow, that will increase the number of segments. And I'll hold the Alt and Shift key once again to constrain that. Now I can release, come and choose my Live Paint bucket, click to make a Live Paint group, and then I can apply alternating colors to each of these segments. Live Paint can also be used to create an interlocking effect. I'll use my ellipse tool, and then I'm going to switch the fill and the stroke. I'll increase the weight of the stroke. Let's make that quite heavy. I'll now duplicate this by holding down the Option or Alt key and the Shift key while I drag away from it. Apply a different color to the stroke of the second one. And now to create the impression of these two rings being interlocking, I first need to convert these strokes to outlines, to actually make them into fills. So with them both selected, I'll come to the Object menu and to Path and choose Outline Stroke. Then to my Live Paint bucket, and all I need to do is click to make it a Live Paint group, and then make sure I'm using one of those two colors to give the impression of the two rings interlocking. A fourth way in which you can create interesting shapes is to use transparency. And you can use that in combination with the Rotate tool to create multiples of a shape, often radiating from a center point. So here I have my inverted triangle. I'll choose my Rotate tool, hold down the Option or Alt key, and click on the bottom anchor point. And then I'll choose an angle of rotation. Now to move the shapes to the right, I need a negative angle. I'm going to make that 10. Let's just have a look at the preview. and I'll go ahead and copy that. Now, to repeat that transformation, I'll use the keyboard shortcut Command or Control D. And then I can swipe over that series of elements and come to my transparency panel and change the transparency blending mode from normal to, in this case, multiply. Once you've finished with this course, come back and check out the Adobe Illustrator Essential Training course here in the training library, and particularly these very useful tools, Pathfinder, Live Paint, Shape Builder, and Transparency.